I'm going to start with the thing that keeps a lot of us up at night. We see a cheap mini PC on a deal site, we think we're getting a space-saving workstation for the price of a mid-range laptop, we plug it in, and a week later we're stuck trying to explain why a game that should run at 1080p 60 frames per second ends up looking like a low-budget demo. That regret happens a lot when people try to squeeze a desktop-class experience into a tiny box without looking at the whole picture. So the question I'm really answering today is whether the MINISFORUM 795S7 mini gaming PC feels like a smarter buy, or just another tiny box that will leave you wishing you had spent a little more. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, the category we're dealing with here is mini gaming PC. It's a niche that sits between two worlds. On one hand, you have the traditional tower that you can upgrade endlessly, and on the other you have ultra-compact stick or NU-style machines that are great for office work but generally underpowered for modern games. The 795S7 tries to bridge that gap by packing a high-end AMD Ryzen 97945HX and an RTX 4060 into a chassis that's roughly the size of a small bookshelf. That's an ambitious combination, and it makes the device most appealing to a specific set of buyers, not everyone who just wants a tiny computer. Who should consider the 795S7? If you're a content creator who already has a monitor, keyboard, and mouse, and you need a powerful machine that won't dominate your living room floor, this could be a perfect fit. The Ryzen 97945HX brings 16 cores and 32 threads, which means you can render video, run AI models, or stream while gaming without sacrificing responsiveness. The RTX 4060, while not the absolute top tier for 4K Ultra settings, is more than capable of delivering smooth 1080p and solid 1440p performance in most titles today. A real-world scenario I've seen work well is a small home office where the user runs Photoshop, a couple of Docker containers, and occasionally drops into a game like Valorant or Elden Ring after work. The three video outputs HDMI 2.1, DisplayPort 1.4, and a USB-C DisplayPort allow you to connect a dual monitor setup or a single high refresh rate TV without any extra adapters. For someone who travels between a desk and a living room couch, that flexibility is a genuine plus. On the flip side, if you're looking for a plug-and-play gaming rig that you can set up on your coffee table and immediately launch AAA titles at max settings, you'll probably be disappointed. The case, while compact, offers limited airflow compared to a full tower with multiple fans. The included power supply is just enough to run the stock configuration, but if you ever want to add a second M.2 SSD or upgrade the GPU to something higher in the future, you may run into thermal throttling or power headroom issues. In practical terms, that means you'll need to keep an eye on temperatures during long sessions, especially in a warm room, and consider adding an aftermarket cooler if you push the CPU hard for more than an hour at a time. Now, let's talk about value beyond the headline specs. The 795S7 ships with 32GB of DDR5 RAM already installed, and 2 DDR5 SODIMM slots that support up to 5,200 metric tons per second. That's not something you see on every mini PC, and it means you can start with plenty of memory for multitasking and gaming without having to buy extra sticks right away. The 1TB NVMe SSD also gives you a respectable amount of fast storage, enough for the OS, a solid library of games, and your creative projects. What makes the value proposition stronger is the friendly upgrade angle. Because the storage is on standard M.2 slots, swapping or adding an extra drive is a straightforward process. I've seen users who keep a primary SSD for the OS and games, then add a secondary 2TB drive for media files, all without needing to open the case more than a few minutes. A practical downside is the limited number of USB ports on the front panel. You get a couple of USB-C and a single USB-A, which means you'll need a hub if you have a lot of peripherals, think a drawing tablet, external drives, and a headset all at once. That's a small inconvenience, but in a setup where you already have a desk and a USB hub, it isn't a deal breaker. More noteworthy is the lack of a built-in Wi-Fi 6E module. The 795S7 relies on a 2.5 gigabits Ethernet port for network connectivity. For most gamers, a wired connection is ideal, but if you're in a condo where running a cable isn't practical, you'll have to purchase a separate USB-C Wi-Fi adapter, adding to the overall cost. Another aspect that often gets overlooked is noise. The fans in this mini tower are designed to spin up quickly to keep the RTX 4060 and the Ryzen 9 cool, and that results in a noticeable whine when the system is under load. In a quiet bedroom or a